All right, welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill.
And this is Kyle Hunter from BetterSportsPicks.com.
Welcome back, my friends. We just got done watching that wonderful Jets versus the Denver Broncos game. And Kyle, I got to tell you, it felt more like these teams were not trying to win. It was almost like a race and who's going to blow it first. And of course, the Jets kind of came through for a lot of sports books there.
Yeah, I think this was one of those nights where we really needed a college football game, right? Like we could have really used some competition for that game because wow, that was ugly.
Brett Rippon from Denver tried to lose it hard for them. He threw
Tried,
into
yeah.
triple coverage, two interceptions in triple coverage twice, and they still won the freaking game somehow. I don't I can't even explain it. The Jets had like over 100 yards worth of penalties. I think it was like 5 or 6 personal fouls, and they were legit personal fouls. Holy cow, was this awful. I don't know how Adam Gase is going to survive. As a matter of fact, if you find the prop bet on Adam Gase and it's better than plus 100, I would consider taking that because that was just straight embarrassing, man. Oh my god. And it's funny, the sharp money was on the Jets. There was just so much losers today, and it's because of Brett Rippon coming in. And the Jets had their opportunities; they just looked terrible, man. And I feel stupider for watching this game, Kyle. I feel
Yeah,
dumber.
yeah. I have to say the other thing is, which you kind of alluded to too, be careful thinking that the Broncos are better based off this. This is not really, Brett Rippon came in and looked great. He made some good throws, but we know that he was kind of like this at Boise State. Makes some questionable decisions, but also some really good throws. He's not going to get away with those kind of decisions every week. So, it worked this time because they were playing the Jets, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'd feel very cautious if Brett Rippon gave me a ride to the game. He's supposed to give me a ride back because even though he won the game, he's off. He might swerve right over the line or something with that car. I'd be pretty scared myself if he was my carpool guy. So there you go. But either way, let's hope the NFL can finally figure out Thursday night and give us a couple good games coming up here soon, man. But why don't we just get started here into college? And you have a few weather updates and some trends.
Yeah, I've got some angles and weather. Let's start with the weather this week. So, Charlotte and Florida Atlantic, the only game that really piqued my interest here for weather and college football. 80% rain, heavy at times throughout the day, 15 to 20 miles per hour winds. Pretty nasty weather here. This is an interesting game because look, we haven't seen these two teams because of COVID. It's been a long time for Charlotte, Florida Atlantic. I mean, it's hard to know what to make of this. What do we make of this game? I think people will want to bet the over in this game, and I think that it's a little bit dangerous because we don't know what Florida Atlantic's going to do as far as scheme and tempo. And now we throw in heavy rain, 80%, some wind, and a total of 60 and a half or so. So not a low total. I'd be careful about that game, certainly. The other weather games I have are NFL, so I'll just run right into those because really not much as far as weather this week. I promise there's going to be one of these weeks where we're going to say, wow, there's a lot of weather games, but it hasn't happened yet. That's for sure. Um, Seahawks Dolphins, 90% rain, heavy at times, 16 miles per hour winds with gusts to 23. I had leaned to the over pretty strongly in this game, so I'm really watching this weather forecast very closely. I want to bet the over. I don't want to bet the over if there's wind and 90% heavy rain. So this is really one to keep an eye on for this weekend. I won't be betting it until I know the weather closer. We all know that weather forecasts can change as you get closer to a day, so be careful about that game though. Chargers and Bucks, the other game, both in Florida, obviously, 80% rain. 12 to 15 miles per hour winds. This is one of the few NFL totals that has actually dropped this week. You look at the NFL totals across the board, up 3, 4, 5 points, and who can blame them? I mean, the way the penalties have been called, or the lack of holding penalties, the way the pass interference penalties have been called, and then the tempo. There's been some really high scoring games in the NFL. This is one of the few that has actually been bet toward the under.
Interesting stuff. So yeah, these totals came out pretty inflated there too, and so there you go. There's some action on the under there. Interesting stuff. Is there any NFL trends coming into this week?
Yeah, I like this one pretty well. So it's week 4 and 5 in the NFL, so it's right where we're at. Favorites of 8 points or more in non-division contests. If you include division contests, this one gets worse, and I think that makes a lot of sense because we're trying to lay points with favorites here. Favorites of 8 points or more are 41 and 26 ATS since 2004. That's 61.2%. If you go to 10 points or more in this spot, it's 27 and 15 ATS, so 64%. So don't be afraid to lay the points. And obviously, there's a couple games where you are laying big points this week. I kind of lean toward the favorite in those games. So don't be afraid to lay the points if you think you like it here, because in non-divisional games, this has been a good angle in week 4 and week 5 in the NFL.
Like the Ravens, big favorite right there. You have the Rams.
Right,
You,
both of them match this, and you know, the underdogs in those games would be really hard to take. I'll just say that. I don't know if I'm going to bet either of those sides, but I definitely will not take the underdog in those games. Kind of like the Ravens. Not sure what to think about the Rams. I know the Rams have really exceeded expectations by a lot this year, and even last week with that huge comeback against the Bills and then losing tight at the end. That was quite the game. But I think that's a pretty good angle there for the NFL. So one to keep an eye on this week and next week, since week 4 and week 5 in the NFL. College football angle here for you. I like this one a lot, and this is not specific to this week. This is throughout the course of the season. So keep me honest on this as we go throughout the course of the season too, Kiev. As we see some of these games that match this, maybe we should point it out throughout the course of the season, because this is a really good one. Road underdogs of 7 points or more with a total of 45.5 or lower. So we're taking road underdogs of 7 points or larger when the total is low, 45.5 or lower. 371 and 242 ATS. That's 60.5%. That's a really big sample size. Look, if you're looking for these kind of angles, they're better when you see a really big sample size. So this is a very good one. This one also makes a lot of sense to me. Why would it not make sense to grab an underdog when they're getting more than 7 points or more with a total set at 45.5 or lower? We actually have a couple games this week that do match this. So, Cincinnati, South Florida, and Auburn and Georgia. So if you can get the 7 there with Auburn, though, so because it's 7 points or larger. So this is a good one to keep an eye on throughout the course of the season.
I can see it closing at 7, so there you go. That's right there for you. That's a huge sample size for that trend. So we're gonna have to revisit this all year. I agree with you, Kyle. That's great stuff right there, man. Well, let's get into a few games then. I want to start with Texas Tech versus Kansas State, and Kansas State's laying about 2 points here, and just want to switch it over to my screen. We'll take a look at the sharp movement from the Action Network here. Kansas State, looking for it here, sorry. Texas Tech, there we are. K-State, they say. So you're looking at 62% of the tickets are on K-State and 97% of the money. It's kind of interesting. You people would say, why is that? K-State's in a huge letdown spot. Well, they are. But at the same time, Texas Tech is coming off a huge letdown themselves. They let down against Texas when they were up by 16 points with a couple minutes, did a horrible pooch kick, gave Texas a great field position, and all of a sudden, Texas is right back in the game there. And then, of course, it goes to overtime and wins. So, teams tend to come off overtime and make it more challenging for the next week. And I don't know how that trend looks this early in the season, but it's just kind of what sports bettors look at. So that's part of the reason why that you're getting so much money on K-State, and also maybe some people just think that K-State's a better team than Texas Tech, because Texas Tech struggled against a Division II college right before that Texas game. So that was interesting. My number actually personally is Kansas State -1. That's just my power number on it. So not touching that one. Total on this one is 64.5. So you have any thoughts on this one, Kyle?
My number was -2 for this one, so we're pretty similar on this one. I'm looking at the weather for this one: 68 degrees, 11 miles per hour wind, so a little bit of wind. I think if I had to play something in this game, I'd probably play the under. It looks like there's some sharp action on the under here in this one. I don't like taking Texas Tech under. So, I mean, I'm not excited to take this one. This would be a hold the nose bet. I'll look at this game a little bit more closely, but I'm not betting the side in this game. Kansas State off a game where they won, even though they had 10 first downs in the game. It's pretty hard to do. Pretty misleading game. At the same time, Texas Tech, that game against Texas last week got to 56-56 in regulation, and the offenses really weren't even very good. I know it sounds funny, but if you look at the stats, yards per play, they were not very good. I mean, it was a way higher scoring game than it should have been. So I guess that kind of lends to playing the under here in this game. Kansas State, you would think, would try to slow this game down, run the football a lot. Texas Tech's defense is really weak, though, so I think Kansas State can score and probably score quicker than they normally do. So I'm going to lean to the under, but I have to look at this game a little bit more. I'm not touching this side.
All right, man. Good stuff. Let's move on to the next game here with some sharp movement. Let's take a look at Tulsa versus UCF. And I believe that UCF is a pretty big favorite in this game. 21 points here, 21 and a half in some books. You look at it, 59% of the tickets are on Tulsa, but 99% of the money is on Tulsa. Apparently the public hasn't moved in. Well, it's not Saturday yet. Bet UCF here. Here's the thing. Tulsa beat UCF last year. And UCF was a little bit down. They were a little bit injured last year. This was kind of like a flat part of the year for them. But what's with all the sharp money? That's the big question. Well, what my thoughts is just that Tulsa knows how to play defense against them, and there's certain teams that just know how to stop teams. People looked at Oklahoma State as a high-powered team. Well, Tulsa almost beat Oklahoma State. As a matter of fact, their yardage was the exact same. It was like 1 yard difference. A couple weeks back when they played. I know Spencer Sanders went out, but still it's Oklahoma State. They got Chuba Hubbard. You figured that they would have scored a little bit more. Well, Tulsa's a gritty team. They prove that they have a better defense there. The fact that they beat them last year is all the tell for me of why you're seeding that money and that movement here, keeping it lower, keeping it around the 21 area is what I'm seeing. My number is actually pretty low on this one, Kyle. My number is like 13. Now, I'm not super excited to go bet against UCF because they have that extra gear and the extra possessions. Their extra possessions could be your 7 points for them sometimes, right? But I want to tell you, I'm very close to betting Tulsa, Kyle. I am very close to betting them, and I can kind of see why the money's coming in on them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you and I agree on this game. Tulsa is a strong lean of mine. It's one that I'm considering betting myself. I think the question here about Tulsa's defense is, was that effort in that game against Oklahoma State more about them, or was it more about Oklahoma State? I mean, without Spencer Sanders, their quarterback couldn't do anything. So they knew Hubbard was coming every single play. I still think Tulsa's defense played better than you would have expected, even if they knew the run was coming every time, like you said. So I give them some credit on that. Look, UCF's offense is lightning fast. They've looked really good. Nothing against them. I think revenge factor has added some points to the spread here. We talked about that last week, that some people say, oh, well, revenge, and sometimes it looks like it inflates the line by 3 or 4 points in cases like this. So, I think UCF's going to win the game. I don't think either one of us think Tulsa's going to win here, but, the point spread's a great equalizer, and 21 and a half points is a lot. So I lean toward Tulsa here pretty strongly. And I will say, as far as the total, at the risk of everybody thinking something's wrong with me, I kind of like the under in this game. I feel free to think that I'm a dumbass just for saying that, but that's under 72. I mean, this is a really high number. Tulsa, I don't think that they want to have a 40 to 30 something game here, do they? I mean, they don't want to go score for score with UCF. You'd think they'd want to play slowly. If they're wise, I would think they would. The last year's game wasn't that high scoring. No. Now, I think UCF's offense is better this year. You could argue their defense is better too, but UCF's game last week went over the total. What was it? UCF was East Carolina was their opponent, right?
Yeah, there was a
So
high total, and they
and,
couldn't
and
set
it
it high enough.
it went over the total on the final play, if I remember correctly. It was like the very last play, and a lot of people had the over.
Hmm.
Fortunate to get that one over the total. I have to say that this one has been steamed up to 72. I'm seeing even as a couple 72 and a halves. Probably no rush if you want to play the under here because I think everybody's going to take the over,
Yeah.
but I'm going to lean to the under, and I like Tulsa as well.
Tulsa's one of those teams too. It's a little deceptive. They looks like they had a lot of plays last year, but a lot of times when you play a lot of close games too, yeah, just like Maryland was, they're always going to look like they're playing a certain speed, and they're actually not. It just depends. If you're getting blown out a lot, you don't have the chance to rev it up. That's what happens to those teams like East Carolina too. East Carolina. That was the biggest worry last week. Is East Carolina going to put up enough points? Right? Are they going to get enough garbage TDs in the fourth? And I guess that kind of came to fruition there. So that's good.
Yeah, the other point I'll make about this is Tulsa in their first game played a lot slower than they did last year. So I don't know if that was just a game plan against Oklahoma State or if that's going to be a thing that goes forward. But, that game plan kept them in the game against Oklahoma State. You'd think they'd at least try here. Now, obviously, if UCF gets ahead by 21 points right away, they can't go as slow as they wanted to. But still think this is a pretty high total.
Yeah, and what I said about Maryland was backwards. Actually, I mean they weren't close in any games, so they actually played faster than what they were.
Yeah.
That's what Maryland was last year. Sorry for saying that wrong. Well, let's move on to the next game: LSU versus Vanderbilt. Here, let me go to my screen, and this is people are like, what? 42% of the tickets are on Vanderbilt. 96% of the money is on Vanderbilt, according to the Action Network here. Well, what can I say? I mean, is it an overreaction from last week when they played Texas A&M? That seeing that game made me happy. I took the team total of over 7.5 last week for Vanderbilt, and it was sitting at 5 points through the third quarter. I was like, you gotta get a field goal, man, and they got the touchdown. But Jesus, I mean, seven. I got plus money on it too. 7.5. I'm like, please, Vanderbilt. Well, they came through, but were they good? I don't think so. But I think I feel good about the fact that I believe I was more right about Texas A&M. I think they came in way overrated. I'm not a big buyer in Kellen Mond. He's okay, but he doesn't take him to the next level. Maybe Jimbo Fisher, he's there, but he can only work with what he does. I think a lot of the recruits they got were overrated too. So they're sitting there and everyone's power range so high. That game might have been a little bit more about Texas A&M than it was Vanderbilt. But here's the sharp money. Vandy scored 38 last year against LSU somehow. I remember looking at that, and I probably even bet Vandy the next game and got my ass kicked. But if I remember properly, but there's something about LSU that they figured out, and Vandy was horrible last year, if you remember, just horrible. Now, Derek Mason's kind of a player's coach. I think the players like him. I think the players are fighting for him because he is on the super hot seat in the SEC. Yet LSU looked lost last week when they played Mississippi State. They couldn't score when they had to, and this is a Mike Leach team. You're supposed to be able to score against Mike Leach, and they didn't. And Mike Leach schooled them, and they look completely out of sync. And you wonder if they could fix it in a week and go to Vanderbilt. Well, they're probably thinking to themselves, well, they're going to beat Vanderbilt pretty easily, but Vanderbilt, I'll tell you right freaking now, this is a statement game for them. So that's why you're seeing the sharp money on that. And I agree with it, Kyle. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
I'm gonna let you be on Vanderbilt by yourself on this one. I don't know that I want to take LSU here, but I don't want to bet Vanderbilt. I think they're not near as good as they looked last week. I think that Texas A&M is overvalued. I'm not sure Jimbo Fisher's as good as some people think he is either. I think he has a good defensive coordinator. Kellen Mond is definitely overrated in my opinion. He hasn't played very well in the big games. But specific to this game, Vanderbilt, they're so much worse than everybody else in this conference talent wise. If LSU comes into this game trying to prove a point because of how bad they played last week, I'm worried about how ugly this game could get. So Vanderbilt, not a team I want to bet on this year. So I'm going to stay away from this game. If I had to bet this game earlier, I thought I might take the over. I see this one has ticked up a little bit. It was 48.5. It's up to 50.5. You would think that LSU could score quite a few points here. Maybe Vandy can score again. Probably not like they did last year, but
Mm-hmm.
um, this is a fairly low total, so I kind of lean to the over. I can't take Vanderbilt in this one.
All right, man. Well, someone's going to be really right or really wrong about this one. Maybe it'll land right on 20 so we can both feel good about it, Kyle. Yeah, man. That's Kyle Hunter from Hunter Sports Picks and BetterSportsPicks.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks. Please follow us at the Odds Breakers. Kyle, man. Well, I got to tell you that we have to give out a team, not necessarily a pick or anything, but who's the most out of all these? I liked a lot of dogs this week. I liked a ton of dogs. Out of all these dogs, who's the most likely to win outright to possibly give you some plus money on the money line?
So for this one, I'm going to kind of go with. I don't want to go with a team that's a 1.5 point dog or something like that. That it's plus 105 or something. So
I think three
I
and a
don't.
half is probably where we should set the bar on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's too easy to just say, okay, they're +2. I'll take this one. I want to try to go a little bit bigger. So this is just for a fun type of wager, lunch money wager on the money line. I kind of like TCU here against Texas, and this is obviously a bold call when they're 12-point underdogs or 11.5-point underdogs. Look, I think Texas probably wins this game, but I think the money line price is pretty attractive here on TCU. Gary Patterson's a really good coach. He coaches up that defense well. Texas was not impressive last week. They were very fortunate to win that game last week. And Texas is a team that I want to bet as an underdog, but I don't want to lay points with them. So, I'm going to take TCU here and think that TCU could give them a game. You take a big money line price. I don't know what that price is at right now, but it has to be pretty big if you're getting 12 points. So TCU money line price would probably be the best right around Saturday morning. So you don't really need to rush to get this one because I don't think a lot of people are going to be taking TCU money line here. So kind of bold call here on TCU to at least have a chance to pull the upset.
No, I agree with that. TCU was one of the free plays we gave out on the podcast. And what is their money line here? It's a good call. I was going to guess plus 450 or something. Let's see here. Texas. Plus 350 right now. And I guess it's because it went down a little bit. I gave it out at plus 13, and I think it's plus 11 now or something like that. But no, totally agree with that. That's a great play. And
I think you might be able to get better than 350 at some point between now and game time too.
for sure. I agree. I think there's going to be that Texas money coming in on Friday and Saturday morning. So great play there. My play, and it goes against some money here. I like Coastal Carolina, and it's plus 145, and they are a 3-point dog, 3.5-point dog against Arkansas State. And a lot of people say, well, Arkansas State beat Kansas State. Arkansas State hung with Memphis for a little while. Well, uh, I watched the second half of that Memphis game, and they didn't really hang in at all in that second half. And Kansas State, they had a brand new team. They only returned Skylar, I think Thompson, their quarterback there. And that's it. And I think one other player, literally, I think it was their tight end or something. And they just kind of got their feet wet that game. And Arkansas State was in a home run spot. Coastal Carolina kept this game close last year. They only lost by 1 point last year to Arkansas State. You look at the returning production, and I'll quick go to my screen here. And this is from Bill Conley. And I like looking at Bill Conley's stuff. Coastal Carolina ranks 19th in returning production. 88% on offense, 62% of the production on defense. Same kids that lost by 1 point to Arkansas State. Arkansas State a little bit lower, more the middle of the road, 77% on offense, 54% on defense. So basically these kids from Coastal Carolina, they know they can beat these guys. They played them already. This is just one of those spots that I like to kind of look at the dog. So I'll take the home dog here, no problem. 3.5. I think you should take the money line as well. That's one of the most popular ones. And now, when I was saying about Vanderbilt, obviously, no chance. No chance. I don't think they win. It plus 1,050 is what you get. But if you want to sprinkle that thing and throw a little beer money on it, I wouldn't have a problem. Maybe put a little bit more on Coastal to cover it, right? But I'll tell you right now, imagine watching LSU start out 0-2 and Vanderbilt hitting a home run here in this spot. So that it's just. You never know in an early college football season. I think they're playing for the coach, so that would be a much longer of a stretch. But for value, if you saw that sharp money on Vanderbilt, maybe it's there. I'm either going to be really wrong or really right about this. But Coast Carolina is my play for your most likely dog. The other couple I looked at was Auburn at plus 235, which fits your narrative, Kyle. Total under 45.5, 7-point road dog at Georgia. And Iowa State was the other one I looked at just because they covered so much against Oklahoma. Right. And I wonder if Spencer Rattler is all that. He was in high school, but sometimes it doesn't translate. I've seen 5-star quarterbacks. Hunter Johnson, for example, from Clemson. He went to Northwestern, was terrible. I've seen 5-star quarterbacks bust out. And so Iowa State knows how to play this team. So that's another dog that I've been really looking at. So there you go. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I like Coastal. I think you have good thoughts there. Don't like Vanderbilt, but if Vanderbilt ends up winning the game, we're gonna have to start next week's show with I don't know. I'll have to buy like a Wisconsin hat or something like that.
Yeah,
wear a Wisconsin hat instead of Iowa State. But no, I mean, as far as that, I think Coastal Carolina is a good look. I also like Iowa State. Matt Campbell's been really, really good as an underdog. I'd like this one better if Oklahoma hadn't just lost last week. I wish they would have won last week so that, they might not be taking this one quite as seriously. But we know Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Iowa State has a good defense. I like that one too.
All right. Well, there you go. If you moneyline parlayed them all, it'd be a 250 to 1 bet, but don't do that. So just want to throw that out there. Vandy. Yeah, just leave out Vandy. It'll go down though, but there you go. No, a lot of good dogs this week, Kyle. I'm glad we have some agreement here on most of these. Let's get into some NFL then, and let's talk about some of the primetime games. As a matter of fact, one primetime game we're not going to look at is, I think Kyle and I both agreed, the Eagles at San Fran's pretty ugly looking right now, and not really worth talking about. The Eagles are in massive injury, bad shape, and you're really not going to get a good report until Friday, and probably you're not going to get a good report until game time. Really, there's a lot of guys questionable too. Godert's out, it's bad. Alshon Jeffrey is a prayer to play. And so we decided not to do that one. We're going to do New England versus Kansas City and the Falcons versus the Packers instead. But I'll let you get started with New England versus KC, Kyle.
So New England and KC is a great game. I have to tell you, I had KC and Baltimore over 54 on Monday night, and that's one of the more maddening pushes I've ever had. That over should have won, definitely. Baltimore not contributing any more than that was pretty stunning, and then both teams passing up a chance to kick a field goal at the end. Obviously, Harrison Butker missing a field goal on an extra point. But KC could have scored in the 40s in that game. They were just totally dominating that Baltimore defense, which really is pretty good. I think we've seen time and time again now that blitzing Mahomes is not a very good idea. You come after Mahomes, he gets out of the pocket and he hurts you. Look, you got to do some kind of zone defense or something. You cannot let him break free. Also can make you pay with his legs, obviously. I don't think the Patriots are going to come into this with nearly as bad of a game plan as what Baltimore did in that one. Having said that, I'm not anxious to go against Kansas City here. So, what is this line sitting at? Are we seeing 7s right now, or 6.5, 7 split?
Yeah, 6.5. Depends where you're looking at.
Yeah, we'll call this 6.75 right now. This is one of those where It looks like the Sharps like New England here with 63% of the bets on Kansas City and 76% of the money on the Patriots. A really good split there. I can't blame anybody for taking points with Bill Belichick as an underdog. I think if I had to take something in this game, I would take the Patriots here. I'm just not anxious to go against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes with less than a touchdown. At least a touchdown here I would need. I think Cam Newton has played well so far this year. He's thrown the ball better than what I thought he would. I still don't know if he's going to consistently be able to throw it around. Can they trade scores here? I think New England wants this to be lower scoring, so we'll see if they slow down the pace a little bit. I don't have any strong angle on this one, so what do you have here, Kiev?
Well, I'll tell you, I was really trying to play New England at the Circa, but they gave us the 6.5, and it's just, I've been beating it around and I haven't put my plays in yet, but you're right. 37% of the tickets are on New England, but most of the money, I think it was 90% or something you said, was on the Patriots. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Kansas City's going to get up for Bill Belichick, but how hard is it to get up after a short week playing Baltimore and then playing the freaking Patriots? That's tough. You wonder if they're going to kind of sleepwalk through the game a little and then maybe turn it on at the end. I don't know, but it's not like the Patriots aren't far from 3-0. They're one play from being 3-0. I mean, that if like I said in the podcast, if Belichick could have that one playback and knew how good Seattle's run D was and how bad their pass D was, he'd change that. Maybe they would win the game. Oh man, Cam Newton, he's been playing a lot better than my expectations were. I don't want to fade the Patriots in this spot for sure. My number's even 9.5. So my number's KC 9.5, and I lean the Patriots. I do, especially at 7. This thing's 7.5. I'm betting the Patriots. Just I have to. But until that happens, we'll see. There's going to be money on both sides. I think coming in later. That the motivation is going to be there for Bill Belichick. That they're going to put a huge effort up this game. They are, and you think that Kansas City will too. Mahomes is magical out there, and he was just amazing. He keeps amazing me. Never bet against Mahomes as a dog because we discussed this in our podcast last week how good Mahomes was as a dog, didn't we, Kyle? And kind of came to fruition, didn't it?
When's it ever going to happen again, though?
Never.
I mean, I don't know when Mahomes is going to be an underdog again, but it ain't going to be anytime soon.
No, it's certainly not. I don't care how bad your defense is. He's never going to be an underdog. But, we'll see. I'm still low on the Patriots in my power rank, so this is I probably have to stay away from it either, and I highly doubt I'm going to get a clean 7.5. If I got a 7.5, it'd be like a minus 125 the books would throw out or something crazy like that. Minus 120, whatever. I'm not going to get it. But this is going to be a great game to watch, so definitely check it out. Maybe live bet it too if you get a good feel. Let's move on to the next one. Falcons versus the Packers, and this is an interesting one. Packers are now up to 7.5. This thing opened up at like 6.5 too. I think it's 6.5. That thing went up quick. 58% of the tickets are on the Packers, and 97% of the money is on the Packers. So you know why? I mean, they beat the Saints, right? They beat pretty much everybody. They had to. The Vikings, the Lions. They didn't just beat them. They handled them well. Here's the thing: Atlanta just can't seem to hold it together. They're putting up a ton of points. They're just crumbling at the end. The amount of points that they give up. 17 points to the Cowboys in the fourth, and then 16 points to the Bears in the fourth. No one's ever done that before. And you wonder how Dan Quinn's still working there. He's a player's coach, and they're going to try for him, though. I think that's what happened last year. Everyone's down on enough. The players just kind of played out of their mind. Is Julio back? I don't know.
Not sure.
I'm not sure. Is Devontae Adams back? Because Lazard is now out. And that's a big thing for me. If Lazard's out, he was having a great year with the Packers. And Valdez Scantling's playing. But if Adams is out and Lazard's out, I have to play at 7.5 the Falcons. If Adams is in and Julio is out, makes it a little bit more sticky for me. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks like Julio Jones has been practicing but limited. I guess I would say he probably will try to play in this game, but definitely don't hold me to that. Those Friday practices are really the ones that you can find out a lot from. So we'll see what happens there. Adams is questionable for this game too, so Adams makes a big difference to that Green Bay offense, obviously. So if you're betting on Green Bay, you definitely want Adams to play here, especially without Lazard. So this one really screams of backdoor potential to me. You get 7.5 points here. Atlanta's going to play all the way to the end. They're going to move the ball up and down the field. This total's at 57, 56 and a half. Highest total on the board for a reason here this week. So I think both teams are going to score plenty. I will say that I didn't mention this one in the weather because I knew we were going to talk about it. 16 miles per hour wind is the forecast right now. It can get pretty windy in Green Bay. So this is one of those where you're going to want to watch it as you get closer to the game. This total was 58 and it's gone down from 57 and now even 56 and a half some places. I think some people have seen that the wind is could be an issue here. I don't want to bet the under. I think both teams' defenses are so weak. Green Bay's defense has not impressed me at all so far. It's been the offense. Aaron Rodgers has been tremendous. I mean,
Matt LaFleur's been
yeah,
tremendous too.
definitely, absolutely. And Jordan Love getting picked was a good choice just because he pushed Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he doesn't have to play for it to be a good choice, apparently. So if he's going to keep playing like this, having said that, I can't lay more than 7 here. This is one of those where you should be able to shop around. If you like Green Bay, you get 7. You like Atlanta, you get 7.5. We've talked about this before. It's really important to get the best number you possibly can. So I'm going to lean to Atlanta here if I had to take a side, getting the 7.5. As far as the total, I would have liked the over if it weren't for the wind. We'll see as this one gets closer if the wind is going to be an issue or not, but I think this will be a pretty high-scoring game.
Yeah, it will. And to be honest with you, my power ratings have the Packers about a 10-point favorite on this too. So in order to take the Falcons, it would have to be a really shaky Adams to me. So still staring at this one, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up our free play that we're going to give out here, and I know I talked up Vanderbilt so much that I almost feel guilty. So let's go a different route here. But I'm going to go with your trend, Kyle. But I'm going to make it in the first half. I'm going to take Auburn in the first half plus 3.5. There's some clean 3.5s out there right now, and my reasoning is why is I'm not sure if JT Daniels is going to start, and if he's really the quarterback. How's the other quarterback going to feel going out there, in the first half? And if he's not that good and everyone's screaming for Daniels at Georgia, then why the hell is he going out there in the first place? Everyone's saying there's over a 50% chance they're not going to start Daniels because they don't know what they have yet with that injury. One thing I do know is that he sucked at USC. He was bad. Really bad. And he lost the job to Slovis, really. And he got hurt too, of course, but he wasn't doing anything out there. And so now you think Georgia's going to fix it. Heck, he wouldn't even start it unless Newman didn't opt out for the NFL. Jamie Newman transferred in from Wake Forest and opted out the NFL. This is all just a weird situation for me. But I think that it's almost a free roll if you're taking it at the half here, because Auburn, even though they have a lot of new guys in the trenches, they got their feet wet now against Kentucky. And, they have some speedy receivers that can bail out Bo Nix here. The total is very low. I think Auburn could be leading by the half, and maybe that's when you bet Georgia. But 3.5 slot, I'm going to give it away for a couple stars. Kyle, your thoughts?
I don't think JT Daniels is as bad as what you think he is. I do like the play fairly well. I think that Georgia started slow last week. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be here. Daniels was up and down at USC, and Slovis is good. Slovis is a good player. I think that, for Georgia, their defense is tremendous. We know that. We don't know what their offense is. They didn't look good last week. Losing at halftime against Arkansas is not a good look, as bad as Arkansas is. So I'll lean your way on this one. I think I probably won't bet the Auburn and Georgia game. I'll just watch that one as a fan.
All right, my man. Do you have any plays?
Yeah, I'm going to give a free play here, and I'm going to go with the total. College football totals have usually been my strength. I've not done good so far this year. I'm always honest and transparent. A terrible start to the season. A lot of the season left. Hopefully everything goes okay for the rest of the season. Southern Miss in North Texas over 71.5 is my free play here. I like to look at tempo a lot. North Texas is playing extremely fast, really, really quick. Either first or second in the nation. I believe they're first in tempo so far this year. Running the ball a lot, getting some big plays, also getting some big plays through the air. Southern Miss defense has been really bad. I think they're going to give up quite a few points here, but Southern Miss can throw the ball. And I think they'll get some yards here on this North Texas secondary that is really, really bad. I mean, North Texas secondary is probably the weakest unit in this game. So, if North Texas gets ahead, keeps playing really quickly, Southern Miss could have plenty of chances here to score. So I like 71.5 over the total here.
Yeah, and that's a big total, but North Texas plays extremely fast. And we talked about it, I think, on our first show, too, and that came really to fruition. So love the play, Kyle. Fantastic stuff. And I actually have quite a few plays this week. So if you guys want to check out theoddsbreakers.com and become a member, we'd love to have you. Kyle's got some great plays for you as well, and don't let him BS you. Over time, Kyle is absolutely fantastic, very profitable handicapper. Kyle, what do you have for us this weekend?
Now, yeah, I've done really well in the long run, and my totals record especially is really very good. Just off to a really bad start here, and certainly I'm my toughest critic, and that's one of the things that some people like about me is that I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm doing amazing, even when I'm not. But I've got a good offer here for this week. Get 1 month of my college football plays for $119, or a month of my NFL plays for $119. You pick. Or if you want both, you can get them for $199 combined. Just mention the better odds special. You can tweet me at Kyle Hunter Picks or email me kylehunterpicks@gmail.com. Mention that, like I said, the better odds special for 1 month of plays for $199 for NFL and college football. Definitely a discounted rate there over the norm. If you want free plays, sign up over at bettersportspicks.com for the free newsletter list at the top of the page, and you'll get free plays there as well.
All right, fantastic stuff. Make sure you guys go check that out. Everybody have a great weekend watching these games. If you guys have any questions for us for any show and you just want to break down a game or anything, please feel free to tweet at Kyle Hunter Picks, or tweet us at the Odds Breakers. We would love to talk some pigskin with you. Have a great weekend, everyone.